What is a frittata? That's a great question. I actually have no idea what a frittata actually is. It's essentially an omelet in a cup, right? And so you can make a frittata really big, kind of like a quiche. Like I've made really big frittatas in a cast iron pan or in a cake pan, and they're really good that way. But we're gonna make them in muffin tins. So they're gonna be small and portable, and they're really easy to eat and cook that way. And they cook a lot faster because anything in a bigger pan is going to take a long time to cook, but these guys are going to cook really fast because they're in a much smaller pan. You can add anything you want to a frittata. It's kind of like an omelet, you know? So you can add bacon, ham. If you add meat, you want to make sure it's cooked meat because these things will not actually get hot enough to properly cook the meat and it'll have like a weird rubbery texture. So if you're adding meat to your frittata or your quiche or whatever you're making with eggs, you always want to make sure it's cooked ahead of time. You can add lots of other things. You can add fresh herbs. We're going to actually add fresh greens to these. We're going to cook them down a little bit so they get soft. You can add cheese. And this is a really handy way to use up those leftover bags of like greens that you have hanging out in your fridge. Like, I don't know about you, but I end up with these like bags of greens, like half-used bags of greens in my crisper, and you pull them out like 3 weeks later and like they're slimy and gross. And it's because like, if I don't want to eat a salad, then there's nothing else to use them for. But these are actually a really great way to use up those greens. Now, if you're cooking with vegetables in your frittatas or your quiche or any egg dish, like vegetables need to be cooked a fair amount to get them soft enough to really be palatable so that they're not crunchy and awkward. And so if you're cooking with vegetables in your frittata, if you're cooking with greens, you're gonna wanna microwave them for a few minutes or saute them, just something to soften them up a little bit so that they're not so like hard, because these actually don't get hot enough to cook them very well. And it's especially true if you're cooking with hard vegetables like broccoli or cauliflower or anything else that kind of has some like crunch to it. Like you wanna nuke it for a few minutes first just to make sure it's soft enough to work in your eggs.